From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, January the 27th, 2020. The White House will release its peace plan for Israel and the Palestinians tomorrow, Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. President Trump made the announcement today while meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington. He later met separately with Blue and White Party leader Benny Gantz. The Palestinians have said they will reject the plan, but the president said he thinks they will ultimately come around, adding that without them, we won't do the deal, and that's okay.
Peace in the Middle East has been long sought for many, many, many years and decades and centuries, and this is an opportunity. We'll see what happens, whatever it is, it is. We're going to announce tomorrow at 12 o'clock. We're going to show a plan. It's been worked on by everybody, and we'll see whether or not it catches hold. If it does, that'd be great. And if it doesn't, we can live with it too. But I think it might have a chance.
Earlier today, the president released a statement on International Holocaust Memorial Day calling for unity against intolerance and oppression. In order to ensure that these horrific crimes against God and humanity never happen again, Trump said, we must resolve to combat evil and oppressive regimes with democracy, justice, and the compassionate spirit that is found in the hearts of all Americans. And of course, the somber day also marks the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, commemorated at the site of the former death camp in Poland today, liberated on January the 27th, 1945. Hundreds of Holocaust survivors and their families joined leaders and dignitaries from around the world to remember the more than 1.1 million people, most of them Jews, murdered in the camp's gas chambers or who died from starvation, cold, and disease. Israel's President Reuven Rivlin, who attended the gathering, met today with Polish President Andrzej Duda. Israel and Poland have been at odds over Poland's refusal to take responsibility for the role it played during the Holocaust. Rivlin said, we remember that during the war, the Polish people fought with courage and strength against Nazi Germany. But, he said, we also remember that many Poles stood by and even assisted in the murder of Jews. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte apologized for how his country acted during the Holocaust, the first apology from a sitting Prime Minister of the Netherlands. Rutte yesterday extended apologies for the government of those days while the last survivors are still with us, he said. That government, he said, failed in its responsibility as provider of justice and security for Dutch Jews. The General Assembly of the United Nations held a commemoration today in New York City as well of the Auschwitz liberation, where Secretary General Antonio Guterres also warned of the current rise in anti-Semitism. When any group of people, he said, is defined as a problem, it becomes easier to commit human rights abuses and to normalize discrimination against them. U.S. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib is facing backlash for retweeting an unverified accusation blaming Israelis for the death of a Palestinian child. 8-year-old Qais Abu Ramila was found in a large reservoir of rainwater that had formed after heavy downpours this weekend in his home village of Beit Hanina. Israeli authorities had been searching for the boy who had been missing since Friday and ultimately found his body on Saturday. There were accusations that the child had been kidnapped and murdered by Israeli settlers. Those claims were quoted and tweeted by Palestinian official Hanan Ashrawi, then retweeted by the Palestinian-American Democratic Michigan Congresswoman. Ashrawi later removed her tweet, writing, "My apologies for retweeting something that's not fully verified. It seems," she wrote, "that the news of his being kidnapped is not certain." Of course, it turned out to be false. Tlaib then removed her tweet but did not post Ashrawi's apology. Israel's Consul General in New York, Ambassador Dani Dayan, tweeted, "I am always extremely cautious in criticizing U.S. elected officials. However, when an American elected official retweets an unfounded blood libel against Jewish Israelis, I cannot remain silent. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib," he wrote, "just did." A woman in upstate New York was charged with a hate crime for throwing pieces of pork at a synagogue earlier this month. CBS 6 Albany reported that the 47-year-old went to Congregation Anshe Emet in Greenport on January the 19th and threw a package of pork chops on its front steps and then went back to the site to take pictures of what she had done. And in Italy, hateful graffiti was painted on the door of a Holocaust survivor whose son now lives at the residence. The Associated Press reported that a Star of David and the words Juden here or Jews here were painted on the door of Aldo Rolfi, whose mother was a resistance fighter and survivor of the Ravensbrück concentration camp in Germany. The AP said the graffiti appeared after Rolfi published an article about anti-Semitism and his mother in honor of International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Hundreds of people came out to show their support of Rolfi after the incident, carrying candles and some carrying yellow stars to protest anti-Semitism. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Monday, January the 27th at 7 o'clock. It's The Wisdom of Dr. Ruth at 7:30. Dr. Ruth joins Alice Greenwald and Ivy Shamus to talk about the ways in which anti-Semitism and hate affect average individuals, with Stephen Smith of the Shoah Foundation. That's from the 2019 ADL conference Never Is Now. At 8 o'clock, author Adam Frankel discusses the traumas of learning his father was not his biological father and of his family's legacy as survivors. That's with Indra Nooyi by the UJA-JCC of Greenwich, Connecticut. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with Eugene Aryeh Leibovitz, who talks about his own survival at Auschwitz and later serving as commander of troops during Israel's 1947 War of Independence. Then at 10 o'clock, remarks from Rabbi Meir Lau at the 92nd Street Y. And coming up right after this newscast, it's Good Week, Israel. And that's the JBS News Update for Monday, January the 27th, 2020. I'm Teisha Bader.